And then somebody had the idea that we needed to start opening up kind of all the rooms of the building, and so we wandered around opening up all the doors and taking a peek into rooms to see if there was anything there. Again, we didn't know what we were looking for, but see if there was anything we could figure out.
And did you find anything of note in any of the rooms that you went into?
No.
In addition to the rooms, the classrooms, did you look in any other parts of the school?
Yeah, I mean, we looked in all the closets, and we kind of walked the entire inside of the building.
At some point, did you begin to walk the perimeter of the building?
Yeah, we then walked after we had done the inside, and there was kind of some time in between where some people were watching video and stuff like that. But then we did get outside at one point and kind of started looking in the bushes and seeing if there was anything that we could see what was going on, because we started to realize that something had happened.
And eventually, sir, was your attention drawn up towards, up across the parking lot?
Yes. Sarah's husband, Drew, had found Colleen's bag.
And if I could just display Exhibit 22 again. Can you just show us the general area in which Drew Giaquinta found Colleen's bag?
So it was somewhere up here. There's a rail trail that goes behind the school here. It connects to, you can kind of see this part of the rail trail here. And somewhere up here there was kind of an entrance to an additional part of the rail trail, and wedged in some rocks up here was her bag.
Now this photograph, sir, is obviously taken during the daylight. What was the lighting like at the time that you were in that area looking?
I mean, it was super dark, but we had flashlights.
Is there any lighting in that parking lot at night, or is that lit at all?
Yeah, there are some lights on the exterior of the building to kind of light up the parking lot a little bit.
Okay. But where you were up more towards that entrance, you've indicated what was the lighting like?
It was pretty dark, as I said, because there's trees up here, so it makes it relatively dark, but having a flashlight, we could kind of start looking around.
Okay. And showing you another photograph, Mr. Butterworth, you recognize what that depicts?
Yeah, there was the rocks, and Colleen's bag was in those rocks.
And those rocks are located sort of in that area you just indicated on the last.
Yeah, they kind of are. That's the entrance to that path.
I'd ask this to be marked as an exit. Exhibit 23 is marked. I think you still have the pointer. Mm-hmm. If you could just indicate to us where the bag was located.
It was kind of wedged in these rocks here.
Okay. And when you first saw the bag, was it in that location, or had someone picked it up?
Drew had picked it up.
Okay. And how did you know it was Colleen's bag?
Well, she had this kind of distinctive, gigantic bag that she kept all her stuff in, and inside it there was a pink calculator and some of her other stuff.
And you recognize those things as belonging to Colleen?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Butterworth, I've placed an item in front of you. Do you recognize that item?
Yeah, it looks like her bag.
And is that in essentially the same condition it was in when you located it, or when Mr. Giaquinta located it that night?
Yeah, there was kind of some stuff on it that we didn't know what it was. I don't know if it's still here. At first we thought it was like, rust or something, but then we kind of faced reality and realized that was blood.
Why don't we have another question?
I would ask that the bag be marked.
Okay. No objection, Ms. Wilson?
No objection.
Admitted.
Exhibit 24. Mr. Butterworth, after the bag was located, what was the next thing that you did?
Well, so Drew had brought the bag down, but then we walked up to where he had found it, and he explained kind of what he had seen. And then I started walking down that slope that you guys had seen in the picture up there, and I still had my flashlight, and I saw on the ground some white gloves with blood on them. And we had previously seen kind of where those white gloves had come from. And then as I looked more carefully, I saw kind of splatters of blood all over the leaves.
And when you say, I'm just going to display exhibit 22 again, understanding it's in the trees, can you show us where you were walking?
Yeah, so as I said, we found the bag somewhere up here, and then I started walking down this way, and I think Drew was still up here, and then I think the policewoman was kind of over here, and I started walking down.
And is there a path in that area? Or a...
I don't really know. I haven't really gone back there, and it was the middle of the night, so there may be a small path, but I don't think there really is, because I think most of the access is right here.
Okay.
I just started walking down and pretty quickly saw, because there were white gloves, and so I pretty quickly saw those gloves. And
what, if anything, did you do to alert the others to what you found?
As soon as I saw the gloves, I told the policewoman that I'd seen the gloves, and, you know, I kind of stopped moving where I was because I didn't want to trample on anything, and kind of scanned around what I was looking at, and that's when I saw the blood, and at that point the policewoman said, we need to get out of this area.
Okay. You can go to the and at that point, did you and Mr. Giaquenta and the policewoman leave the woods?
Yes.
Okay. And fair to say, at that point the police took over?
Yes.
Searching?
Mm-hmm.
If I could just have one moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
I have nothing further this one.
Okay. Dawson?
No, but
Okay.
Do you want
Thank
to
you,
give me
sir.
a coach?
Sure. Sit down.
Yes, but I don't expect it. Okay. And I would like to be heard on this issue as well.
I'll be happy to hear you on it. It's sensitive about my growth. Just want to make sure that you're
Just know that there's no evidence for this jury about Ms. Ritzer's findings.
I know that at some point it may get figured out if something that isn't going to be figured out. It's not we'll address the issue in court. All right, thank you.
Someone called me Officer Stephanie Wennerberg.
Members of the jury, while waiting for the next witness to come in, I want to remind you that there's no magic time for a recess. If no one raises his or her hand requesting a recess before 11:15, we'll take the recess at 11:15. Still waiting for one of you to break the ice and stand if you want to stand. There's room over there. So if anybody wants to do that, you'll need my permission to do so.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the cause now and hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may be seated.
Come on. Sure. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
The motion to sequester witnesses that I've allowed in the case. They can only be in the courtroom when you're testifying. You can't talk about your testimony with the other witnesses or let them talk about theirs with you until the evidentiary portion of the trial is over. Thank you. Ms. McHugh, please.
Good morning, ma'am. In a loud, clear voice, can you state your first and last names for the jury?
Stephanie Wennerberg.
And can you spell them?
Stephanie. My last name, Wennerberg.
And ma'am, how are you employed?
I'm a police officer with the town of Danvers.
How long have you been a police officer for the town of Danvers?
About 2.5 years at this point.
And ma'am, drawing your attention to October 22nd of 2013, how long have you been a police officer for the town of Danvers at that time?
About 2 months.
And at some point, what was the shift that you were working in October of 2013?
I worked the 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. shift.
And at some point during the course of your shift, were you dispatched to Danvers High School?
I was.
And what was the general nature of, or what was the urgency of the call you initially received to go to Danvers High School?
It was for a missing person report.
Okay. And when you arrived at Danvers High School, with whom did you make contact?
I made contact with the assistant principal, Susan Ambrosevich.
Okay. And were you, did you take part in sort of a search of Danvers High School?
I did.
Can you describe that for the jury, please? What areas you were looking in and how you were looking?
I met Miss Ambrosevich at the side door of the high school, which is the academic wing of the high school, and with a custodian and Susan and several other teachers. Their identities still aren't known to me. We began checking and unlocking every classroom door and bathroom door, closet door on the first, second, and third floors of that academic wing.
Okay. And did you find anything of note in any of those areas at that time?
At that time, no.
Okay. And at some point, were you directed to the classroom belonging to Colleen Ritzer?
No, I wasn't directed there. We just checked it as part of the search of the entire building, or of the academic wing.
Okay. May I approach this witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Showing you a photograph, Officer Wennerberg, do you recognize what that photograph depicts?
I do.
What does that photograph depict?
It is Miss Ritzer's classroom.
And is that essentially the condition the classroom was in when you first looked in it that evening when you were looking?
It was.
I'd ask this be marked as the next.
Admitted.
Exhibit 25. Can you just direct us, and I think it's clear, but for sake of the record, the door that we're seeing to the left of the photograph, does that lead to the hallway?
It does.
If you make a right out of that doorway, where do you end up?
Towards the center stairs.
And again, you testified that this is the condition the classroom was in when you arrived that evening, complete with the jacket on the back of the chair.
Yes.
At any time during your initial search, did you have occasion to search the bathrooms? If you know.
Yes, but it wasn't until a
When
little
you
bit later.
When you did your first search of the bathroom, did you see anything of note in any of the bathrooms?
I had been directed to that bathroom.
Okay. I'm going to back you up for a second.
Okay.
Before you had any additional information, when you first arrived at the school and you were searching with the teachers and the school personnel, did you on that time have occasion to go into any of the bathrooms?
On that side of the building, no.
Okay. What side of the building did you go into bathrooms?
The left side of the building.
Okay. Meaning as you're looking at the academic wing, the left side of the building?
Correct.
Okay.
After you go up the center stairs to the left.
Okay. And at that time, meaning, let me ask you this, on the same side of the building as Colleen Ritzer's classroom?
Yes.
Okay. And nothing of note was located in any of those bathrooms, is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. And at some point, without going into anything that you were told, did you receive additional information from your department, from the police?
Yes.
And based on that information, where did you go at the school building?
I checked.
Did you go outside?
Yes.
Okay. And what area of the school did you go outside to?
The perimeter,
Okay.
and then the field outside of the parking lot, to the left of the parking lot by that academic wing.
Showing you what was already marked exhibit 22. I think there is a pointer in front of you. And the green button is what you want to push. When you say the perimeter, can you just show us on the photograph what areas of the perimeter you had occasion to look in?
I started on this side,
Yep.
which is now technically the front of
Okay.
the high school, and I made it my way around clockwise around the perimeter.
Okay.
So I
Looking
went
sort of
that way.
in, we can see if there's some shrubbery or greenery in that area. Is that where you were looking?
Correct.
Okay.
Along the perimeter, yep.
Okay. And you say this is, let me ask you this, Officer Wennerberg, did you go to Danvers High School?
I did.
Okay. And has it been changed and sort of refurbished some since you attended it?
Completely.
Okay. So is the front not, what was the front when you went there is no longer the front, is that fair to say?
That's fair to say.
Okay. But the part we see to the right of the photograph, that is now, where there's sort of a circular driveway, is that now considered the front of the school?
It is.
And then the part facing the woods is the academic or A wing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And ultimately, after you had searched the perimeter of the school, can you show us where your search took you?
To this field,
Okay.
and right here is the entrance to the Danvers Rail Trail, a section of it.
Okay. And what, if any, items were located in that entrance to the rail trail? And we can go to the blank screen, Ms. Woodard.
When I made my way to the field, my attention had been brought to the field. And when I was going over to that field, I saw two blue and white, I believe they were Under Armour gloves, just laying discarded on the field. But my attention had been brought over to that field for a black purse that was found at the entrance of the rail trail. There's two big boulders that you can walk through, and it was wedged in between those two boulders.
And just showing you exhibit 23, does that depict those two boulders?
It does.
Okay. And that was in between there with where the bag was wedged?
Correct.
And whose bag was that ultimately determined to be?
Miss Ritzer's.
Can I have that? And showing you what's already been marked exhibit 24, is that the bag that was recovered?
As I recall, yes.
What, if anything, did you do with that bag, Officer Wennerberg?
I maintained custody of it.
Okay. And where, and when you say you maintained custody of it, what do you mean?
I kept it in my physical possession.
Okay. Okay. Now, after the bag was found, what happened next?
I began searching to the right of
the
where
boulders?
that bag was found. So to the right of those boulders.
Okay. Going further into the woods or staying along the same perimeter or staying on the same latitude as the boulders?
It was slightly further
Okay.
into the woods.
And
from
did
those
you
boulders.
see anything let me ask you this, what was the lighting like at that time in that area?
I had received a call at about 9:45 at night. I don't know exactly what time it was, but it was dark.
And did you have a flashlight with you?
I did.
Okay. Without the flashlight, would you have been able to see anything?
Probably not.
Okay. As it was with the flashlight, what, if anything, did you notice as you moved from the boulders?
My attention was directed to several items that were discarded on the ground in the leaves.
And can you describe to the best of your recollection what those items were?
There was a folded piece of paper, there was a white glove, and there was a torn piece of fabric. They were all light in color.
And was there anything about their condition that was concerning to you at that time?
Yes,
What was that?
they had blood on them.
And who were you with in the woods at that time?
I don't know their identities, as I mentioned, but
What were they? What was their description? Meaning, what kind of people were they?
they had identified themselves to me as teachers,
Okay.
co-workers
Okay.
of hers.
And what, if anything, did you do as the police officer present once those items were observed?
I told them to immediately get out of the woods.
And did you yourself get out of the woods at that time?
I also got out of the woods at that time.
Did you have contact with the station regarding or let me ask you this, how does your radio work? Can it be heard by other Danvers officers, or does it go only back to the station?
With the channel that I was on at that time, it could be heard by local towns, and it was also heard by dispatch and the other officers I was working with.
Okay. And at that time, were you the only Danvers officer at the high school, or had others arrived?
At that time, I believe I was the only Danvers officer there.
Okay. Shortly after that, did other Danvers officers arrive?
Yes.
And who were they, if you remember?
Officer Baldessari,
And does he have a particular assignment or role?
he's the school resource officer at the high school.
And did any other officers arrive to assist with the search?
Yes.
And who was that?
Officer Ellenton.
And what's his role with the Danvers Police Department?
He's the canine handler.
At some point, were you, fair to say you were the most junior person at that time?
I still am actually, there's a couple of people since, but yes, at that time I was the most junior person.
So were you directed at some point by other officers to go somewhere else?
Yes.
And where was that?
I went to the dumpsters first, and that's
Okay.
in the still rear of the school.
Okay. Showing you again Exhibit 22. Does this photograph depict generally where does it depict the dumpsters?
Yes.
Can you just show the jury where the dumpsters are located? Okay. And did you find anything of note in that area?
No.
Okay. After you went to the dumpster area, where were you directed to go next?
The second floor women's bathroom.
Okay. And you had said when you had first been at the school, you had searched everything sort of on the same side of the building as Colleen Ritzer's classroom. The girls' room that you were sent to, what side of the building was that on?
The right.
Okay. Other side of the stairwell?
Correct.
And when you arrived at that second floor girls' room, did you notice anything about it?
No.
Okay. Did you go into the bathroom?
I did.
And can you explain to us how the lighting works in the bathroom?
The lighting is motion censored, so until you pretty much enter that room, the lights won't turn on. Most of the school is like that, the hallways as well.
And when you entered the bathroom, eventually did the lights come on?
Eventually.
And were you able to make any observations of the bathroom at that time?
Yes.
Can you describe those for the jury, please?
It was clear that it had very recently been cleaned.
And how was that clear to you?
It smelled clean.
Okay. What did it smell like?
Disinfectant.
Okay. And did you continue, though, to look around the bathroom?
I did.
And what, if anything, did you observe?
The trash was emptied, the toilet seats were up, everything was wiped down.
As you were, well, tell us what happened next. Did you go to leave the bathroom?
I did.
And as you were going to leave the bathroom, did you notice anything?
I did.
What did you notice?
About waist level, or my waist level, there was what I could best describe as almost a handprint it was red in color, and there were streaks that trailed down the door frame.
And did you relay that information to anyone?
Yes.
And how did you do that?
My captain, Captain Ambrose, had directed me to the bathroom and had asked me to let him know or to stand by if I found anything in that bathroom. So over the air, I just said, I radioed to my captain, and I just said, I'll be standing by the second floor bathroom.
By that point in the evening, were you being more careful about what was being said over the radio?
Yes.
Okay. And let me ask you this, were there any difficulties that you found in that Danvers High School building with communicating?
Yes.
Can you describe what the problem was?
Reception.
With cell phones?
Correct.
Okay. Is there any cell phone reception, generally speaking, in the building?
Generally speaking, no.
Okay. And was there any problem using the police radios in the building?
Sometimes.
Okay. So was that sort of an ongoing issue over the course of the night? Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. If I can just have a moment here, I'm just going to stop.
Sure.
Showing you a photograph, Officer Wennerberg. Do you recognize what that photograph depicts?
Yes.
What does that photograph depict?
A restroom at the high school.
Is that the second floor girls' room you stood by it?
It is.
And is that, what view is that?
It's from the hallway looking in, or looking to the entrance. Women's on one side, men on the other.
Okay. I'd ask this be marked as the next exhibit, Your Honor.
Any objection from the board? Admitted.
Exhibit 26.
So if you could just orient us, Officer Wennerberg, where is the person who took this photograph standing?
In the hallway.
Okay. And looking in, where's the girls' room? For those who can't read this sign. Okay, on the left there.
Correct.
Okay. And does the door, how does the door work if you remember, meaning push in, pull out?
You push it in.
And showing you another photograph, understanding that the marker wasn't there when you saw it, do you recognize what that photograph depicts?
I do.
What does that photograph depict?
The photo is taken from standing inside the girls' restroom, and it's the door frame looking out.
And is that door frame in essentially the same condition it was in when you saw it, when you were sent to look in the bathroom that late night?
Yes.
And I'd ask this to be marked as the next exhibit.
Admitted.
This is 27.
And what you described seeing on the door frame, is that at least partially depicted in this photograph, Officer
Yes.
Wennerberg? Can
Yes.
you show us with the pointer where that is?
Started about here.
Thank you. From that point on, Officer, was your primary job to sort of secure that bathroom and remain there till other personnel arrived?
It was.
If I could just have one moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
I have nothing further for Officer Wennerberg.
Ms. Awesome.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Can I approach the witness?
Sure.
Sure.
You recognize the picture?
I do.
Yeah. Could you tell us what does it depict?
It is, again, a picture that was taken from inside the bathroom, if you were standing inside the women's bathroom. And it's a little more zoomed in of the door frame as you were to exit.
So it's the same picture we just looked at, but it's a little closer.
Correct.
And is that a fair and accurate depiction of the...
It is.
I'd ask that be admitted.
No objection.
Admitted.
Just if Mr. Austin wants to display it, we can switch over.
Exhibit 28.
May I use the...
Yes, it'll just take one minute.
Switch over.
So, and the blood that you see there is sort of dripping down the door frame. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Right. Did you say when you testified that you also saw something you thought was either a handprint or a smudge?
Correct.
Right. But that's not in that picture, am I correct?
Not in this picture, no.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that the handprint that you saw was actually on the door itself?
As I recall, it was up higher on the door frame.
Okay. So if you were leaving that doorway, if you were going out that doorway, how would you pull the door in to exit the bathroom?
That's correct.
All right. So your hand would go up a little bit above that area to the handle.
Correct.
All right. And is it right near that handle where you saw the print or the smudge?
Yes.
Okay. And was that more or less directly above where the drips are?
Yes.
So it'd be fair to say that those drips are maybe a little bit more than waist high.
Potentially.
Yeah. And they're in fact just about under where the handle would be if the door was closed.
I don't recall.
Okay. And so that wasn't the only blood that you saw in the bathroom, correct?
Correct.
If I could approach once more, just have a look at this. You recognize that?
I do.
Okay, could you tell the jury what it is?
This is a picture of a tile wall that separates the door to exit the bathroom and the area where the sinks are located.
And what does it show at the bottom of the wall?
Blood spatter?
Okay. Is that a fair picture of that section of the wall?
Yes.
Okay. I'd ask this to be admitted as well.
No objection.
Admitted.
29.
All right, so during this inspection of the bathroom, was the blood that you saw on the door frame and the print or smudge on the door and those few drops on that little divider wall, was that all the blood you saw in the bathroom?
Yes.
Now, when you went out to the area where the boulders were in the back of the school, that was because someone else told you that's where they had found the black bag, correct?
Correct.
You weren't present when the bag was discovered.
Correct.
And you understood that the bag was placed between the boulders because that's what you were told.
Correct.
And then I think you said that the teachers you were with, they went off to the right in the wooded area there, correct?
Correct.
And did either of them have a flashlight?
As I recall, I believe one of them did.
All right, and you have a flashlight?
Correct.
Okay. And did you go over there with them?
Yes.
And I think you saw some things in the woods, correct?
Yes.
And when you saw those things, that's what led you to tell everybody to get out of the woods?
Correct.
Okay. Would you just tell us again what it was that you saw in the woods?
I saw a folded piece of paper, a light-colored glove, and a torn piece of fabric.
Okay. And what did you notice about those items?
They were covered in blood.
So there was blood on each of those items?
That's correct.
All right. I'm going to ask you just to have a look at these, if I can, all three of these pictures. And I'll ask you about them when you want to tell me. Do you recognize any of those three pictures?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what the first one is that you recognize.
It appears to be a glove.
Okay. And does that have a evidence cone with a number on it?
It does.
Okay. And what's that number?
Cone number 11.
Okay. Is that the glove that you saw when you looked in the woods?
As I recall, yes.
Okay. And is that a fair representation of what it looked like, except that it's better lit apparently when the picture was taken?
As I recall, yes.
Okay, good. So I'm going to move to admit that.
Sure. Admitted.
Exhibit 30.
And what's the next picture that you recognize there?
Piece of paper.
And could you tell the jury what that piece of paper is?
Crumpled, folded, has blood on
Is
it.
that the piece of paper that you saw in the woods that night?
Yeah, as I recall, yes.
Okay, and is there an evidence cone with a number?
There is.
And what is it?
Number 13.
Good. And is that a fair and accurate representation of what you saw that night?
It is.
Move to admit.
No objection.
Admitted.
31, so admitted.
Okay. And do you recognize that third picture in front of you?
I do.
Could you tell the jury what it is?
A piece of, the best I can describe it, is fabric.
And is that the piece of fabric that you saw in the woods that night?
As I recall, yes.
Okay. And is there an evidence cone next to it?
There is.
And the number?
Number 15.
All right. Is that a fair picture of what you saw that night?
Besides the lighting, yes.
Besides the lighting? Okay. Now move to admit that.
No objection.
Admitted.
32.
So I'm showing you first the glove. Is it cone 11, correct, on the screen up there?
Correct.
All right. Now, do you see any blood on that?
I do.
Okay. And could you just describe for us where you see the blood on it?
It's underneath, or on the side to underneath of what appears to be the thumb of the glove.
So would it be fair to say that the glove is lying on the ground? It appears that there's some blood on the side that faces the ground. You can just see the edge of it.
That would be fair to say, yes.
All right. Do you see any other blood in that picture?
In this picture, no.
And you don't see any blood on the leaves or anything in the area around it?
Not that I can tell from this picture, no.
So all that's visible from that picture is a little line of blood on that bottom edge of the glove, correct?
Correct.
All right. And is that what your memory is when you looked at it?
Yeah, going back 2 years, yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Now I'm going to show you, I'm going to put up on the screen the object next to cone 13. And is that the folded piece of paper?
It is.
And again, would you describe for us where you can see blood on that article?
In this picture, it would be on the right-hand side of the paper.
All right. And would it be fair to say that there are more or less small spots of blood on the right-hand side of the paper?
From what you can see in this picture, yes.
All right. And most of the part of that paper that's visible doesn't have any blood on it, correct?
Correct.
All right. And do you see any blood in the area around it, on the leaves or on the ground or anything like that?
From this picture, no.
All right. Well, is that your memory of what you saw that night?
It is.
Okay. You didn't see more blood around that object?
In the dark, no.
Okay. Well, you did have your flashlight, didn't you?
I did.
Okay. Good. And then the third item, next to cone 15. What do you recognize that to be?
The piece of fabric.
Okay. And the piece of fabric, it'd be fair to say, has a fair amount of blood on it.
Correct.
About half of it, the surface of it is covered, the visible surface.
Correct.
And the other half is just white cloth, correct?
From what I can tell in this picture, correct.
Are you able to see any blood in the area on the ground or in the leaves around that?
From this picture, no.
Okay. So when you went out there that evening and discovered these items with your flashlight, did you see any other blood in the woods?
No.
Thanks, I have no more questions.
Sure.
Just one question, Officer Wennerberg. I think it goes without saying, but you didn't see or find Colleen Ritzer in the woods, did you?
I did not.
Did you recross, Ms. Austin?
Nothing further.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge.
Call us next witness, please.
Officer Justin Ellenton.
Sir, do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the cause now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated.
Yes, sir. So there's been a motion to sequester witnesses in the case, so until all the evidence is over, you can only be in the courtroom when you testify. You can't talk about your testimony with the other witnesses. We'll let them talk about the evidence.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, Officer Ellenton.
Good morning.
In a loud, clear voice, can you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
Yes, Justin Ellenton from the Danvers Police Department.
And how do you spell your last name, sir?
It's Ellenton.
And sir, how are you employed?
Danvers Police Department, I'm the K-9 officer.
How long have you been a police officer for the town of Danvers?
11 and a half years.
And how long have you been the K-9 officer?
Going on almost 8 years now.
And are you currently the K-9 officer?
I am.
Are you working with the same dog that you were working with in October of 2013?
I am not. I just started with a new dog.
Okay. Drawing your attention back to October of 2013, what dog were you working with?
K-9 Falco.
And if you could just spell Falco for the court reporter.
Falco.
And how long in total did you work with Falco?
For about 6 years.
Can you just describe for the jury the process of working with a dog, how you first sort of train with the dog?
Yep, so it's a 16-week patrol school. Every day for 16 weeks, except for weekends, we learn to track human scent, find articles. The bite work is part of that patrol school. Protection work to protect me, And then we also do a specialty school, which Falco was a drug dog, so for 5 weeks we went to a drug school as well.
And with respect to Falco in particular, had he had any training prior to you becoming his handler?
Yes, he worked for another officer in my department for 4 years before me, and then we received him as a fully trained dog.
And why is it that, so Falco was already trained when you got him, but you needed to be trained, was that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And is that why do you go through the training again with Falco when you take over as his handler?
Well, part of it is the bonding with the dog as a new handler, and then obviously so I understand his habits and the way he works. It's a partner deal. I need to read his actions.
And how much time would you spend with a dog that you're working with?
My current dog or
Falco.
Every day I go to work. Whenever I leave in my police car, he's with me. Sometimes more time than with my family.
Okay. So, did Falco live with you?
He did, yeah.
Okay.
And he still does.
Okay. And when you, so even if you're going to work like a road detail, not doing sort of traditional police work, would Falco come with you?
Yes.
And what's the purpose of that?
Just in case there's a call that needs a canine to respond, we can respond to any call of service that needs a dog.
Okay. And in terms of your work as a police officer, you're not limited to only canine work, is that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. So you have all the same duties and responsibilities as any other officer, you just bring the dog along in case that comes in handy, is that?
Yes.
Okay. And you said, I think you talked about he had 5 weeks of specialized drug training. I think you've touched on this, but what are his other abilities? What else could Falco do?
So for the 16 weeks of patrol school, we learned how to track human scent, whether that be in a lost kid, a lost elderly person, or a suspect in a crime. Along with that same human odor training, we learned to find evidence that may have been discarded after a scene. So he will indicate if we come across evidence along the way, and then along with the bite work or the protection work for me, he's taught to protect me.
And just for the sake of completion, what's bite work?
So it would be apprehension. Basically, if a suspect meets the criteria, which there are certain specific criteria for that we could either apprehend a suspect with a bite, or if somebody decided to fight me on the side of the road, per se, the dog would protect me.
Okay. But would it be fair to say he only bites on a specific command?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. When criteria are met?
Yes.
Okay. Drawing your attention, Officer Ellenton, to October 22nd of 2013, were you working your normal shift that evening?
I was, the 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. shift.
Okay. And do you know how many officers would be on for the town of Danvers at that time?
5 patrolmen and a sergeant.
And during the course of your shift on October 22nd, did you have occasion to use Falco earlier in the evening prior to going to Danvers High School?
I did.
And can you describe the purpose of that for the jury?
Yes, Sergeant Stone was our patrol supervisor, and he asked me to respond to the area of Hollywood Hits for a possible missing student.
Okay. And were you using over the course of that evening Falco to look for a missing student?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, did you hear radio traffic regarding a search going on at Danvers High School?
I did.
And can you just describe what you heard that was significant to you in terms of bringing the dog?
Officer Wennerberg, I believe, got on the radio and announced that she had found something in the wood line just adjacent to the school, at which point I responded on the radio that I was going to respond and told her that she should back out of the woods until I got there with the dog. And
why would you tell her to back out of the woods?
So it's the more human odor that is, I guess, put into a scene. It just takes me a little bit longer, or Falco a little bit longer to. Eventually, we will find what we're looking for, but it just takes him a little bit longer with more human odor introduced to the area.
So the more pristine you can keep it, the better.
Yes.
Do you know about how long it took you to get to Danvers High School?
I'm not sure where I was, but within Danvers, we're 2 to 3 minutes away from many things.
Okay. And when you arrived at the high school, what, if anything, did you first do?
I immediately met with Officer Wennerberg, and I believe Detective Baldessari was there at the time, and they explained what they had found.
And at that point, Officer Ellenton, were you aware of a missing teacher, a missing Colleen Ritzer?
I believe I had been listening to the radio throughout the night and had heard that, yes.
Okay. And were they able to provide you with any object which assisted you in getting Falco working?
Yes, Officer Wennerberg had brought a black, teacher's bag, if you will, down to the edge of the parking lot. There's a practice field just to the left of the school, and she had put it up against the guardrail there for me.
Okay. And showing you what's been marked as Exhibit 24 is that bag that Officer Wennerberg had placed by the guardrail.
Yes.
And what do you do with Falco to have him, how do you use this bag in this particular case?
So I bring Falco to an article or a bag, that bag, and I put him in a down position on it. And through training, he knows when I put him near an article with scent on it, he immediately smells what's in front of him, which then he knows the game now is to look for this scent. And then I will give him the command, after I put him in a down, I give him the command to track or to area search, and he will then start to search for that odor from whatever I put in front of him.
And I think I forgot to ask this now, but can I approach this one?
Mhm.
Showing you an aerial photograph, Officer Ellenton, do you recognize what that depicts?
I do.
And keeping in mind there's foliage, does that depict some of the area that you and Falco searched that evening? Or that
Yes.
night? I'd ask this be marked as the next exhibit. Your Honor, I apologize. I'll show it to
No.
Mr. Austin. You want to see it now?
Committed.
33. I believe you have, yep, you're ahead of me, a pointer in front of you. If you can just show the jury where it was that you first saw the bag and got Falco to pick up the scent.
Right along the guardrail here.
And it's hard to see in this picture, but is there sort of a wooden guardrail?
Yeah, it's a thick wooden guardrail that runs, basically runs the whole length of the side of that field.
Okay.
And towards the end here was where the bag was placed.
And while we're here, Officer Ellenton, can you sort of orient us? There's that athletic field right there that we can see in the photograph, is that correct?
Yes.
What's that just to the left of it?
This is a power plant, an electrical power plant.
Okay. And between the power plant and sort of the entrance to the woods, what's down in there?
So just along this back side of the power plant is a fence, and then there's a gully that goes down before it rises up into the woods.
And what's the terrain like down in that gully?
At that time it was thorns and prickle bushes, and it was pretty thick.
And when you say gully, can you just describe a little bit what the grade is like as you go from, fair to say, well, let me ask you this first. What's the grade like in that field then going up to the woods? Is that flat or is there an incline as you go up to the woods?
So this is a practice field which is flat, and then just about where it starts to get brown, it's I wouldn't say an extremely steep hill, but it's a pretty good sized hill going up to these rocks.
And then that area you've described as a gully just to the left of that area, how sort of far down does that go?
So along the hill continues to go up along this area.
Yeah.
And then the gully drops off at the base of the hill. The gully then goes even deeper along that fence line.
And when you showed us where you gave Falco the scent, can you just show us before we take the picture down where Falco then led you after he got the scent by the guardrail?
Yes. So We started here, and immediately he pulled kind of along the middle of this slope. This is the hill going up. He pulled along the middle of this slope and then up into the opening to the orchards. This area of woods is called the orchards.
Okay.
And there's 2 boulders there that he pulled me to.
Okay. Thank you. And when he pulled you to those boulders, did you or he locate anything?
He did.
And how did he do that?
He pulled me to the left side of the boulders and started alerting, which for me, I need to read his behavior, and it was several deep nasal breaths. And he was spending a lot of time, his tail was wagging because he had found something.
Okay. And could you see with the naked eye what he had found?
At first, I did see a purple bag, and then there was some leaves over the rest of the items that were found.
Okay.
Sure.
Let me ask you this, Officer Ellenton, with respect to the items that ultimately Falco found, did you touch or move any of those items?
No, ma'am.
So your purpose was in locating them?
Yes.
Showing you an item, Officer Ellenton, do you recognize that item?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that item to be?
The purple bag that was stood up next to one of the boulders at the top of the hill.
And understanding you didn't handle it, is that item in essentially the same condition it was in when you located it, or when Falco located it that night?
Yes.
I'd ask you to mark this in that section. Exhibit 34. Once Falco has located an item, how do you tell him to move on to find something else?
I basically have to remove him from that item because he's quite intense when he gets to it. I have to remove him from it and tell him to get back to work.
Okay. And did he do that?
He did.
And what did he do next?
He pulled me beyond the boulders into the orchards, into the opening of the woods, and he pulled me off to the left-hand side.
So you're now sort of past those boulders into the woods up to the left?
Yes.
Okay. And what, if anything, did he do next?
He pulled very strong to, there's another rise once you get into the woods, and he pulled very strong to the top of that rise.
Let me ask you this. There's been a lot of conversation about how dark it was that night. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any lighting with you?
I always carry a light on me, and I only use it when I need to actually see something. Basically, when the dog, if I'm tracking somebody through the woods or wherever it may be at nighttime, a lot of it is by feel. And then if you don't use a flashlight for a while, your eyes adapt obviously to the night. So I try not to use a flashlight when I'm tracking, and then I know when Falco is interested in something because he stops or pulls hard or whatever it may be.
And then you can take out your flashlight so you can see what he's saying?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that fair to say? Okay. And as he pulled you into that area, were you able to see anything at that time?
Yes.
What were you able to see?
It was a gray sneaker, and the toe of that sneaker appeared to be soaked in a red matter that I believed was blood.
showing you a photograph, Officer Ellenton. Do you recognize what that photograph depicts?
Yes.
What does that photograph depict?
That is one of the boulders at the top of that rise.
Does that photograph depict where you found the purple lunch bag?
Yes.
Okay. I would ask this be marked as the next exhibit.
Admitted.
Exhibit 35, so marked. And if you could just use the pointer to show us where approximately you located the purple tote.
I believe it was leaning against the end of the boulder on the left.
And then does this, can you at least indicate to us from this photograph where Falco directed you from there?
Yep, so in between this boulder and the next boulder, there's a little walk-through. He actually jumped over and I walked through, and he pulled me to the left up into the wooded area back here.
And that's where you saw the gray sneaker?
Yes.
Understanding the light is considerably better than you had that night, does that photograph depict the area where he led you to the sneaker?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that, other than the lighting, essentially the condition it was in when you saw it that night?
I believe so, yes.
That's to be marked as the next exhibit.
Clausen.
No, different.
Admitted.
36.
So just to orient us to the last picture, Officer Ellenton, can you indicate on this picture where that last picture would have been taken? Does that make sense? Based on the fence?
The picture of the boulder?
Yes.
Previous, so it would have been, I guess, to the left,
Okay.
down past this tree.
Okay. And this is the same fence that's depicted in that last photograph. This is just taken from a different perspective, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And was the sneaker where it is in this photograph when you saw it?
Yes.
Okay. And again, with respect to these items, you didn't move them, you just located them.
Correct.
Where did Falco go next?
So I obviously I had to pull him back off of this and put him back to work, and he started to pull along these rocks towards, there's a rail trail out beyond the trees back here. He started to pull in this direction.
Okay. And what, if anything, did he locate at that time?
Immediately, he, when we started to go left, his behavior changed dramatically, and he pulled me strong to the fence.
Okay. And so you would have had to go through the fence, fair to say?
Right.
Okay. You obviously did not go through the fence.
Correct.
What did you do to correct for that?
So I wasn't sure where he wanted to go, so he pulled me to the fence, and then he started to work up and down the whole chain link fence back and forth, and he was kind of frantic in his behavior.
And when you say he started to work, what are you seeing as his handler when you say he started to work?
So basically, I like I said, I have to read the dog. So when he's in odor, it's a completely different behavior than when he's not in odor, and so I knew when he was at the fence that he was in some kind of a lot of odor. His behavior, sorry to answer your question, his behavior was he starts to circle back and forth and tries to narrow down, if you will, if this was an article that we were looking for, there's a cone of odor that comes off the article, and of course the further away you are, the larger the cone is, and he has to narrow that down until he gets to the source.
So do you see him literally sometimes sort of walking back and forth, circling something?
Yes.
Okay. We can go to the blank screen. And as he was walking up and down that fence line, where were you able, did he direct you or did you direct him?
He directs me, and basically I knew that he needed to go to the other side of the fence, so I brought him back to the boulders to get around that fence.
Okay. And where did he direct you at that time?
As soon as we came around the boulders, he pulled hard to the beginning of that ditch that we described earlier.
What you described as a gully?
Yes.
And what did he do as he got to the gully?
He dove down into the beginning part of that gully and immediately started to indicate on an item.
What did you do at that time? Could you see anything?
Yes, there was a green, large green recycle bin that was laid on its side, and Falco actually pawed at it, and I pulled him back from it to investigate further.
Showing you two photographs, Officer Ellenton. Do you recognize what those photographs depict?
I do.
What do those photographs depict?
They're of the large green recycle bin.
And do they depict the recycling bin as you first saw it that night?
Yes.
And is that lighting more reflective to some extent of the lighting you were working with that night?
In the first picture, yes.
I'd ask that the first picture be marked as an active video.
Needed.
Officer Ellenton, I think you indicated already that Falco actually went down there and pawed at the barrel. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then if we could mark the next photograph here.
Any objection from the
No
board?
objection.
Admitted.
Exhibit 38.
When you were first looking at the barrel, was the top ajar as it is in this photograph, or was this the same, or did it differ from when you first saw it down when you got closer?
I believe that's exactly how I saw it.
Okay. And when you first were handling Falco, did you have this angle on it, meaning you could not see into the barrel?
Correct.
Okay. And we can see some berries and other foliage around it. What is the nature of that foliage?
It's thick. It's pucker brush or vines and prickers.
Okay. It's hard to get through. Is that
It
fair
is,
to say?
yes.
Okay. Okay. We can go to the blank screen. What did you do, Officer Ellenton, after Falco alerted on the barrel and was pawing at it?
I brought him, so we'd come down the hill to the edge of the gully, so I brought him back up the hill, which is only probably 10 feet, and tied him to a tree so that I could investigate further.
Okay. Were there any other officers with you at that time, or was it just you and Falco working in the woods?
Yes, Captain Ambrose and Detective Baldessari were standing on the hill behind me, so I tied the dog to the tree away from them, and so I could be hands-free.
Okay. And what did you do after you had secured Falco?
I went back down to the barrel with my flashlight to investigate further.
Okay. And where did you actually go with respect to the photograph we were just showing?
I went just to the right of the lid, so I could get a side angle looking at the whole barrel.
And what did you see when you looked into the barrel?
When I looked into the barrel, I could see what I thought was blood all on the inside walls of it, and there was about 5 or 6 paperback books at the bottom that were soaked in the same blood.
And again, with respect to the barrel, did you move it or change it in any way, or just leave it as you found it?
No, I left it as I found it.
If I could just have a moment, Your Honor.
Sure. Does it relate to the next exhibit?
Yes, Your Honor.
We're going to take a recess before that.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take the morning recess. Try and see if we can get you in here a little before 11 o'clock. If you find that's not enough time, take the time that you need. The first thing I'll do when come back into court is to make sure you follow the instructions, not to talk about the case among yourselves or with anybody else. Well, court will be in the morning recess.
All right. George, remember, if you will, and Miss, you'll lead out.
He's unable to discuss the potential of waiving his presence in the courtroom. He's shaking, he's twitching, he's mumbling, and he said he is about to explode and he doesn't want to hurt anyone.
Okay. He made some comments to Court Officer Gator that we should put on the record before I make a decision here. Why don't we just have swear Officer Gator, if we could, please.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in the cause now and hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do.
Yes, Court Officer Gator, what is it that the defendant said to you?
When I thought we were about to begin, Your Honor, I asked Officer Lang, are you ready? He informed me that Philip Chism would not come out. At that point, I went inside, asked Philip what the problem was. He said, I can't take this anymore. I can't come out. I can't take it. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt anyone.
Well, my concern, quite frankly, Ms. Regan, is we obviously have been down this road before. I've read through the competency evaluation with some care, and it was clear to me from that evaluation that the defendant was competent. It was clear to me from that evaluation he was competent at the time that he was sent for the 15A, and that his conduct at that time, based on what I read, was rather a refusal as opposed to an inability to consult with counsel and to understand the nature of the charges. And my concern is that the situation is no different here. Defendant can waive his right to be present. Of course, the problem with that is that he needs to be competent to waive his right to be present. And of course, he can waive his right to be present after a full colloquy. One thought I have before, and I'll hear from the Commonwealth as well, is assuming I can make the Waller findings and the Sixth Amendment public trial Waller rights are not contested, I could speak with counsel present and observe the defendant outside of the courtroom before making a decision on a 15A, because it's been my observation since the trial began that the defendant appeared no differently than he did at the motion to suppress that went on for a number of days. He appeared no different than he did through the protracted impanelment process. And there's nothing before me to suggest anything other than this is a similar situation than as what happened before, as it relates to competency, which is a refusal as opposed to an ability to participate. So I'll hear from you on that, and then I'll hear from the Commonwealth.
Dr. Barrett in the 15B report did consider the possibility that the stress of the trial would become too much for Mr. Chism. And that may be what's happening now. I'd also point out that while he was at Worcester State Hospital on the 15B, his treating psychiatrist diagnosed him with a psychotic disorder and put him on antipsychotic medication. So it's not that Philip is without his challenges. So given that he's a 16-year-old, a juvenile being tried in Superior Court, he's not an adult. This is a very stressful situation, and he does have this diagnosis of this serious mental illness. I'd urge the court to have the 15A just to be sure, because the court has to make a finding of competency, and these are reasons to doubt his competency to waive his presence. So I'd suggest that it is imperative on the court, in order to fully address the issue of his competency to waive his presence, to have the assistance of the court clinic in a 15B.
Okay, thank you. Ms. McDougall, you heard?
Just very briefly, Your Honor, obviously the Commonwealth shares the court's concerns about what's happening here. I would note the timing, that this is happening on the eve of what I think was apparent to everyone was the recycling barrel being brought into the courtroom. I'm sure it is stressful. I think it's stressful for any defendant facing a murder charge. The last couple of days, the defendant has been made acutely aware of the bulk of the evidence against him. And I am very concerned about the timing of this. Frankly, this has been one of the Commonwealth's concerns. We did have a motion prepared, as the court can see, some weeks ago on this issue of waiver. And I would ask, certainly, that the court, at a minimum, make observations and inquiry on its own. I think that the defense carefully picks and chooses what it chooses to highlight from that competency report. And as the court is well aware, the balance of that competency report, and I think it goes very far to call it a diagnosis at Worcester State. And frankly, I didn't think it was appropriate in the opening statements, but chose not to address it yesterday to say it as it was said. I think that is a very small piece of the competency report. One of the things the competency report talks about is treating the defendant in a way that is in no way harsh, but that is firm. That makes clear to him that he is not in charge of this process. And I'm concerned that right now he thinks he is. And it was a difficult morning. Frankly, his statements to Mr. Gaeta, obviously I'm given great pause by any suggestion he's going to hurt court staff, and I don't want to minimize that. I'm sure he can't take it anymore. I'm sure it's very difficult to sit here and listen to that. I frankly don't think there's anything irrational about that.
Well, that's my concern, Ms. Regan, and I'm not saying I won't do a truncated, at least 15A, have Dr. Parada take, if she's in the building, take a look at the previous reports and observe him. I'm not saying I won't do that, but I don't have anything before me other than a defendant who has appeared every moment since this trial began, and every moment that he's been in court, including previous motions, to be competent. And my concern is that he is very stressed, as anyone would be, never mind a 16-year-old, and that the reason he doesn't want to come out is because he's stressed. That's not competency. That's a refusal. And while I will admit I'm inclined to do the cautious thing, which is at least have Dr. Parada read the report and observe him, at this point in time, I don't have anything before me to stop this trial to go down that road. And therefore, assuming I can make the Waller findings, I assume that the defendant doesn't want the press accompanying counsel into lockup, but assuming I can make the findings, that I at least observe him myself. So is there any objection to that on Sixth Amendment grounds?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. On First Amendment grounds, having looked at the Waller findings and based upon security issues and the closure being no broader than necessary to protect the interests involved, that the court believes that the interaction with the defendant outside of the court is necessary. the court will reduce its Waller findings under the First Amendment to writing as soon as possible, and we'll take a recess so that I'll be able to observe the defendant before making a decision relative to 15A. I'm going to consult with the court officers and then with the government and defense counsel observe the defendant in lockup. All right, court will be in a short recess.
All rise. Court will be in a brief recess.
Defendant who did not respond to the court or counsel's questions and was lying on the floor, mumbling with his eyes closed. Any observations the defense wishes to make to augment that record, Ms. Regan?
No.
How about you, Ms. McDougall?
No.
All right. At this point in time, there are two options if the defendant is competent. One option is that there'd be a colloquy and he waive his right to be present, which he may do so. Or two, that he be brought out into the courtroom forcibly and, if necessary, in shackles. Neither of those options are available to the court if there is a question of competency that needs to be pursued. Rather than start at the beginning, we are contacting Dr. Merritt so that she can come out here and do the 15A because she's aware of all the information. We don't need to have another clinician read through an entire report, and she's familiar with Mr. Chism. That seems to me to be the most efficient way to proceed. Ms. Regan, that's not going to happen in time for us, no matter what happens. She won't be here before the jury needs to be excused for the day. I don't want to assume, but there's not really much choice. I assume you'd like me to excuse the jurors with a caution that they not speculate on why the defendant is not present rather than have them just see an empty seat.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Does Commonwealth wish to be heard, Ms. McDougall? Do you wish to be heard further, Ms. Regan?
No, Your Honor. If after the jury is discharged, we could hear, the court could hear us on the question of colors, I'd appreciate it.
Yes. All right. Well, you'd have to waive your client's presence on that issue. All right. All right. So we can set it up with the jurors and let them leave. Court will be
All rise. Court will be in a brief recess.
notice people as opposed to kicking on the beat who purposely said to my husband, do this stuff. And your social worker can barely do that. So don't you dare.
All right. I'll see counsel decide if I could. Be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you very much for your patience. We're going to excuse you for the day in just a moment. I know that you can't help but notice that the defendant is not present in the courtroom. Not to speculate in any way what that reason might be. Every day I tell you about how important it is that you avoid any information from any source other than in the courtroom, that you're not doing any independent research, and that you avoid newspapers, that you avoid the television news, that you avoid the media in any way. So it's important that you do that, and I know you have, and that you're working very hard at that. The reason that the defendant is not present at this moment will be all over the news. You will be one of very few people who will not know the reason, but you cannot know the reason. You cannot know the reason. So you have to be vigilant and work really hard at avoiding any news coverage of this case from any source whatsoever. Do not allow anybody to talk about this case with you under any circumstances, and have that order that I gave you in your hand if necessary, if anybody tries to do it. If something comes on unexpected. The jury, thank you very much for your patience. We're going to excuse you for the day. ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you very much for your patience. We're going to excuse you for the day in just a moment. I know that you can't help but notice that the defendant is not present in the courtroom, not to speculate in any way what that reason might be. Every day I tell you about how important it is that you avoid any information from any source other than in the courtroom, that you're not doing any independent research, and that you avoid newspapers, that you avoid the television news, that you avoid the media in any way. So it's important that you do that, and I know you have, and that you're working very hard at that. The reason that the defendant is not present at this moment will be all over the news. You will be one of very few people who will not know the reason, but you cannot know the reason. You cannot know the reason. So you have to be vigilant and work really hard at avoiding any news coverage of this case from any source whatsoever. Do not allow anybody to talk about this case with you under any circumstances, and have that order that I gave you in your hand if necessary, if anybody tries to do it. If something comes on unexpectedly on the news, on the television, because you're watching a channel and you don't expect anything to come on, just walk out of the room as quickly as you can, change the station if it's the radio, and don't even glance peripherally at the newspaper. I don't want you to come at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, because I'm not sure that we'll be starting right at 9 o'clock. I don't want to take any of your valuable time that's not absolutely necessary. So we'll have you return tomorrow morning at 10:15. Please try to arrive no earlier than 9:55 and no later than 10:05. That'll take a lot of pressure off of the court officers who are waiting for you all, so they can bring you upstairs. So I know that you're all serious. I know you're all conscientious. I know you're all working hard. Every time I look over at you, it seems to me not just figuratively, but literally, you're leaning into the case and listening with intensity and seriousness, and comporting yourself as you would expect people in the position that you're now in to do so. And keep in mind every moment that you're on this case that you are the only judges of the facts of the case. You're the judges of the facts of the case, and you need to conduct yourself as you would expect judges of the facts to do so. With the instruction of the court in mind, not to speculate as to anything that relative to the defendant's presence, and to keep in mind the need to avoid any information from any source other than in the courtroom. The jurors are excused. Court will remain in session.
All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. All persons having anything further to do before the Honorable David Lowy, Justice of the Superior Court, now sitting at Salem, within and for this county of Essex, at present depart and give your attendance at this place Wednesday morning next at 10:15 a.m., to which time and place the sitting of this court is now adjourned. Juror, if you'll lead out, and remember to leave your books on the seat. Watch your step going up. This court will remain in session. You may be seated.
All right, the court will make the Waller findings as soon as possible. I prefer to do it with the defendant present, but I'll make the Waller versus Georgia findings as to the partial closure promptly. Ms. Regan? Sure.
I don't expect this issue to, I'm certainly happy to accept the full vote. There are a great many more people here yesterday.
All right. So Dr. Merritt's on the way. I'm not sure, quite frankly, how long that'll take, but there's no chance that anything would occur earlier than 2 o'clock this afternoon. So court is in recess until no earlier than 2 o'clock this afternoon.
All rise. Court will be in recess, 2 p.m.